The last few days, the media has gone in on the Denver Nuggets for that choke job they had against the Minnesota Timberwolves, blowing a 20-point lead in a game seven at home is unprecedented. It's never happened before. So it's like an embarrassing moment. I bring this up because I've noticed most of the people going in on the Nuggets and Jokic are mainly Laker fans who are disgruntled about Jokic owning their team, Jokic to the Nuggets owning their team for the last 2 years, taunting them, ribbing them. They were waiting for this moment for a long time, at least 2 years now, to get some payback. They didn't get the payback. The Wolves were the ones that took them out, but they lived through the Wolves. So you could tell by their reactions, especially some of these media guys. You see them just rejoicing with tears of joy, just happy to just get back at the Nuggets and all this other stuff simply because the Nuggets beat the Lakers and they were bitter about it. So it's kind of like the Timberwolves are like, it lives up to that old phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And in this case, the Timberwolves have a lot of fans simply because Laker fans were rooting for them to get revenge on the Nuggets for what the Nuggets did to the Lakers, as stupid as it sounds. This all led me to think about the Lakers as a whole, that their fans are entitled. They always expect the Lakers to win. Like every year, they think they deserve a title that's owed to them when it's not owed to anybody. That's true with just about anything else in life, you can say that, but they definitely have this sense of entitlement and saltiness when it comes to them not being able to win a title immediately. They need that instant gratification. So I thought deeply about this, and I was thinking in my mind, the Lakers, the way they're run right now with the current Buss family, I don't see them having a dynasty as long as the Buss family's owning this team and the current ownership they're partners with runs this team. To me, these people have no concept of how to win in the current NBA environment. They're operating from a old school mentality that they used to have, which was in the past when the Lakers built up their dynasties, they would steal guys. They have always stolen players for the most part, if you think about it. Even with getting Magic when they drafted him, they stole that pick from Utah. They were able to have a bullshit trade that gave them Utah's first round pick, which was unprotected. There was no lottery protection back then, so they were able to get a steal in the number one pick. They got Kareem through a lopsided trade simply because he demanded to go there. They had to give up much to get Kareem. It was like, a bunch of role players that didn't mean anything. They had to give much, so that's how they were able to build that 80s dynasty with Kareem and Magic. And even Worthy they got through a bullshit trade where they were able to steal, I forget which team's first round pick. I don't know. I think it might have been the Cavs or somebody, but they just traded some bum for just their first round pick, and it wasn't lottery protected. It was actually because of these farce trades of them getting number one picks that weren't lottery protected that the NBA came up with these rules for lottery protection to prevent this stuff from happening. That's how bad it was. They were able to get these great trades like on pennies, as they would say, that allowed them to build up their dynasty. And you fast forward to the 90s when they built up the Kobe Shaq Lakers, they were able to get Kobe through a steal during the draft. That was a crafty move to some degree. Granted, Kobe was forcing his way to LA, just even going straight out of high school, but they were able to just flip Vlade for Kobe. And then they were able to replace Vlade with Shaq. To get Shaq, they just had to create cap space by letting go of some role players. But those role players are really insignificant to them. If you think about it, they kept their core intact. They were able to keep Eddie Jones, Cedric Sabalas at that time. I'm trying to think who else. Nick Van Exel. They were able to keep him, another key piece. Alden Campbell, just another key piece. Granted, those guys wouldn't be on their championship teams with Kobe Shaq, but it was crucial to keep those players intact until they got the role players that they felt were complementary towards Kobe and Shaq. Still, it was helpful to have those guys. They were able to add guys like Rick Fox, Derek Fisher also. So it worked out for them. But again, they were able to build that team easily in the sense they were able to get Shaq and Kobe for literally nothing. Just they didn't have to give up much. Now, when you fast forward to this era, I think it's very hard to get a player a great player of high value for little to nothing. It's just not going to work that much. It's not going to really work out that way anymore. If you think about it, look at even when they got Gasol, which was not too long ago. It was like 2008. They traded Kwame Brown and some draft picks for him. That was a bullshit trade. Like, I know Marc Gasol turned out to be a great player, but if we're being honest, at the time, Mark had no value. He just wasn't legit. So again, they didn't have to give up really anything to get Pau Gasol. They basically just gave up Kwame Brown and some useless picks. Like, I think it wasn't even big time picks, may have been second round picks or some shit, but they could keep Lamar Odom and Bynum without having to give them up to get Pau Gasol. Imagine if they had to give up Lamar Odom and Bynum and like 3 first round picks, not lottery protected. How much damage it could have cost their team, and they may not have ever been able to win a title. It was just Gasol, Kobe, and a bunch of garbage role players. That they have no Lamar Odom, they had no Bynum, they had maybe even no Derek Fisher. Just them and a bunch of G League players. It becomes so much harder to win then, and that's my point. Like, you can't get a great player in this environment through trade or free agency without giving up so much. If you're able to get a great player through free agency, you have to create the cap space to get that great player. And once you max that player out, it's going to take up so much cap. You're not going to be able to afford to get any quality role players. And if you do have them on your team, you won't be able to re-sign them when they become free agents due to the apron and luxury tax. It's like pretty much impossible to keep a team together really fully. So it makes it very difficult. With that being said, maybe you get lucky and you can win 1 or 2 titles tops by going the Laker method of stealing a superstar through trade or free agency. But after that, it's over with, and you're going to have to rebuild again. And it could take you 7 to 8 years to get back to the point you were before. So that makes it pretty much impossible to have a dynasty with the Lakers mentality of thinking. I think the only way you could do it in this era to create a dynasty is like you have to develop homegrown talent. You have to draft guys when they're really young, and you have to be perfect in executing it, that all your prospects hit, that you're able to draft like 2 guys that can become superstars, and along with drafting a bunch of role players with them or trading for them when they're very low in value. And that's how you put together a team. You got to really homegrow your talent and develop it. But the Lakers historically have never been good at that. They're terrible at that. They're just great at stealing people. That's all they know. But this environment doesn't really favor that anymore, in the sense that you could build a long-term winner. So I think they're screwed in the long term, and they're just not going to be a dynasty ever again until their mentality changes, which I know it won't with the Buss family and their ownership. And I'm happy with it since I'm not a fan of the Lakers. I think they're the most spoiled, rotten franchise in NBA history. And one of the positive things about these new rule changes of the cap and the way things operate now, it's harder to just have a quick fix to your problems. And even if you do, it's like taking steroids. It comes back to bite you in the ass. Just like that Mickey Mouse title they had in 2020. They haven't done shit since then. I don't know if that was really worth it to trade all the assets they had just for that one farce of a title. Maybe they feel that way. Laker fans do. Sure. Maybe you could feel it's legit. To me, that title wasn't legit, but that's really their future. At best, in 8 to 10 years, they can get another 1 or 2 titles, and they can be garbage for another 10 to 12 years afterwards. Granted, they could argue like, hey, getting 1 title is better than never winning. And that's true for most organizations that are not big markets outside of New York, LA, Miami, or even Chicago. I would say, granted, they're not really relevant that much when it comes to free agency, that if you can win just 1 title every 10 or 12 years, that's a great success. But I feel for Lakers and their fans that it's not good enough, that 1 title every 10 or 12 years won't keep them satisfied. So I think that's a bitter pill for them to swallow, but it's something that they're going to have to eat and accept. That's the way I look at it. So I just wanted to comment my thoughts on that.